Hi, I'm Enchanting Nubianette. Welcome back. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. So, everyone, I'm going to talk about one of the longest standing fast food restaurants, McDonald's. So, let's focus on Belleville, Illinois. It's a regular day at the Mickey D's, which it turned into entire episode of fast food gone wrong this day. What happened was a manager named Kathy Bledsoe, only 44 years old, was working her shift when she asked one of the teen employees to take out the trash. Simple, right? But the teen said, "Nah, I'm not doing that." So Kathy, the manager, told her to clock out then. She told her just to go home. Now, you know how it is when you're working and even, trying to communicate with many teens. Many of them are defiant. There's a lot that are disrespectful, unfortunately. Even if they're at work, they're not going to put in that strong work ethic to do their very best. There are some, of course, who are very diligent, progressive, but in the most circumstances, many of them are very rebellious, feeling themselves. Let me continue with the story. So after the teen left, this is where everything gets extra, extra spicy. The teen calls her mama, Tanika McKenzie, 35 years old. So the mother pulls up to the restaurant with another young girl. So, back in the day, if you have a teenager, you make sure to get the information right. And if the child is at a job, you would encourage that child to do the best that they can to make sure have a good reputation. They're following the rules, making sure they're securing the job and doing what they're told. You usually will be on the side of the manager if it comes to work responsibilities, right? Wrong. So, like I said, the mother pulls up to the restaurant with another girl and she says, in quotes, "What we not going to do is disrespect my child," end of quotes. So they walk behind the counter. And they are not following the rules. That's breaking the rules, number one. You don't go behind any counter in any work establishment, business establishment. And they make their way to the manager's office. And of course, things get heated, like the fries, on the fryer. So allegedly, Tanika, the manager, she starts swinging. And she was hitting Kathy in the head and face. And instead of calling security or backing off, Kathy, she pulls out her weapon, a hand weapon. Can't say it on YouTube, everyone. And she pews Tanika in the leg. And this is all over the trash. Now, of course, the mother and another person came after her when she's at the job in her office. And, she has to defend herself. But, for her, this could have been extremely worse. So let's continue. Police came and EMS took Tanika to the hospital, and both women got hit with felony charges. So Kathy, the manager, she's facing aggravated, unuseful use of a weapon, and Tanika got charged with aggravated battery and mob action. She carried one person, but again, she wasn't supposed to be there. She should have just, told her daughter that she was in the wrong or said, you know what, get another job if you don't want to take out trash. But why go to the workplace? You're not supposed to be there anyway and go behind the counter and attack this woman who's doing her job. And that's one of the duties. So the Belleville Police Department said what we all were thinking, in quote, "This was an unnecessary incident that could have been mitigated without the punches being thrown or the weapon being used. Definitely. I mean, I know that the woman had to defend herself, but it could have been fatal. And thank goodness, she didn't have those charges because, again, she was doing her job. But I do want to highlight everyone that there have been so many cases these days of McDonald's being in the headline news, especially this year. It seems like so many McDonald's locations have been in entire crime scenes. So, all across our country, McDonald's, there have been a huge spike in major crimes. And it's not just for petty theft, like someone, stealing money from the cash register or even robbing someone of their food. It's many, or even people getting rowdy over cold fries. You know, there are so many articles, so many news reports about violent incidents, weapons, assaults, and even employee safety breakdowns. So, for example, where I live in New York City, there's a McDonald's in Brooklyn, I believe is in Bedford-Stuyvesant on Fulton Street. They had to post signs banning anyone under 20 years old without a parent. Now, like I mentioned, we do have wonderful teenagers who are very, smart, progressive. Um, they, try to do their very best. They're very obedient to their parents, respectful. However, so many of them are not. And that's the problem because they have so many teens who were even mobbing, locations in McDonald's, stealing and causing so much chaos and crimes. And even nationwide, there are online reports that show a rise in workplace violence, especially in franchise owned stores. And of course, McDonald's is um, one of the franchises that have longevity, and especially because of social media, there are viral videos, of the fights and wild behavior. It seems like so many locations, like almost every location is a WWE ring. That's what it seems like. But, many experts say it's so much more about the visibility, having various McDonald's in each borough or in each state and each city, because the McDonald's are everywhere. When something does happen, it's front and center. And many of the McDonald's employees have been saying they feel so unsafe at work. And there's numerous lawsuits that are in motion right now at these McDonald's and also various fast food locations. So there is no official count of huge crimes. I tried to find out the number of, how many crimes took place even this year at McDonald's, but there is no official count just yet. But there is a clear pattern. Again, there's a lot of visibility and so many incidents. And according to online reports, there are over 13,000 US locations of McDonald's. So even, these percentages, it causes a huge stir in nationwide headlines because there's so much chaos and confusion. It should be basically about people who have employment there and people who are customers, getting their, breakfast, lunch, dinner there as well, or even a little birthday party here and there. But this is out of hand. And, to be honest, McDonald's is not the problem. It's the mirror. When I say the mirror, basically it's a reflection of what's going on throughout the United States in every single community. Well, most of the communities, especially in large cities. Late night hours, the understaffing of employees there, and people who, are really stressed out. And, another factor are the homeless people who usually, go into McDonald's because many of them are open 24 hours. There's easy access. It's not like many of them have security guards. Some do, but not every McDonald's have security guards, or every fast food restaurant. So when the fries hit the fan, it's the workers and the customers who are paying the price. So, let me know, everyone, if you do eat at McDonald's, if you have, heard of, or if you have experience, with any crime taking place there. And I really don't frequent McDonald's myself. I won't even talk about it much because of YouTube, regarding, the food and everything. But once in a blue, I may have like a fish sandwich, or, I still like the smoothies, like the strawberry banana, what have you. But, since we know now about the food and the lack of quality, I would say I really do not go to McDonald's or most of the other fast food places. But the main thing is the crime. It's really ridiculous. And I definitely want to say that, fast food places need to have peace, and, people should feel safe and secure just like you would go to a regular restaurant. It's basically two different budgets, but, the character of, some of the teens, like I mentioned, and even sometimes the staff there at different fast food places or any workplace. You have to be the kind of person, since you're working with people of different ages, people of different, demographics and, stress levels. You need to be the one to de-escalate any issue that happens. So it should never be the case where, someone is supposed to take out the garbage to fulfill their garbage duty, and it turns into weapon play. We all need to stay safe, stay calm, and, make sure that we live another day, actually live many more decades. So please drop a comment below. Thank you for watching, and like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And again, keep your head on a swivel. Stay safe wherever you are, and especially if you go to Mickey D's.
In this case, charges in a shooting at a Metro East McDonald's on Wednesday night. Now a manager and an employee's mother are both charged in the incident. Belleville police say this all started when the manager on duty, Kathy Bledsoe, asked a juvenile employee to take out the trash. When the teen refused, she was told to go home. The teen then contacted her mom, Tanika McKenzie, who had a fight with Bledsoe, and Bledsoe pulled out a gun.